We had a long conversation about, like, boy, it looks dumb drinking on camera.
Yeah, but we look dumb.
It looks dumb, and you make noises, and it's like a whole thing. I gotta edit out the fucking noise of
You
the
don't actually have to drink.
No. This is the best thing. I'm just gonna see here.
We'll do a little ASMR. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this water's not filtered at all. The filter stopped working months ago.
It did. I think it went from like blue to purple. I don't know what that means, but
It's pregnant.
Oh, you're recording.
hey Ramsey, what did we just watch?
A universe devastated by war has only one last hope for peace. Space Station Babylon 5.
Well, we finally did it. We sat down and we started watching Babylon 5 properly. We started doing season 1 from the beginning. We started out, of course, we just watched the first 2 episodes, and we are going to sit down right now and have our first impressions of the first 2 episodes of Babylon 5. Originally aired 1994. First episode,
I was 6.
You were 6.
I was 6.
Yeah.
How old are you, Ramsey?
I'm older than 6. Episode 1 of Babylon 5 season 1 is Midnight on the Firing Line.
Are all the episode titles like really dramatic like
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yeah, I would say yes. I'm pretty confident saying yes. So, Poncho,
Yeah.
why don't you give us a rundown of the plot? Where do we open up? Where do we start? What's going on with Midnight on the Firing Line?
So we open up on some sort of Centauri funny hair guy's agro world that apparently has a bunch of space stations around it. And they get attacked, and just before they tell you who's attacking them, the guy who's talking dies. Tough. So the brown guy that everybody hates, he gets accused by the Centauri guy of blowing up the planet. Am I going through the whole thing here?
What's the planet's name?
Gargash?
Ragesh 3.
Yeah, why does it matter? It
Yeah.
got blown up.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go ahead. So the hair guy is Ambassador Londo Malari. That's the guy with the hair. The hair?
Big
hair guy. Yeah, Londo.
That's the one. Yep,
Yeah.
Londo.
Actor John, you were a fan of his name. Actually, Peter Jurassic.
Oh no,
That
I
was
was.
Poncho.
That was I like the name Peter Jurassic.
I also like Peter Jurassic.
Yeah, I tune Poncho out a lot.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear the word Jurassic, I go straight into the Shaq Diesel album, where he'll do you like Spielberg and get your ass kicked. And
You wanna fight, come fight me. I hit you with the wow. See, I get dirty after dark. I treat you like Spielberg. You get your ass kicked in the park.
boom shakalaka laka.
And the Narn ambassador, the brown guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jakar.
Jakar. The actor's name is Andre Katsoulis.
Yeah. No, they use too many apostrophes and names in this. It's like
It's not too many.
there's like 3 guys in the opening credits who have apostrophes in their names.
You mean the actors' names?
No, the characters. Jakar is an apostrophe name. There's another one, isn't it?
There's one.
No, there's another one.
There's-
I counted at least 2.
There's one.
Well,
There is.
roll the footage. So yeah, and then there's this sweet back and forth fight between Jakar and Mondani. What's his name? Londo.
Londo Malari.
Jakar and Londo fighting back and forth, and Londo is convinced Jakar's people did it, and Jakar's like, So, and that's when we find out that Londo's nephew was probably killed in the fighting on the planet.
Karn.
Yeah, Karn. And so, 90s Kirk is looking for a third opinion.
Commander Jeffrey Sinclair.
Yeah.
And also that is Michael O'Hare.
Yeah,
He's got an apostrophe in his actual name.
Boom.
Maybe that's what you saw.
Nope. So he goes and visits the particularly alien Ambassador Kosh. That's a name that I used.
You did use that.
Yep.
Oh wait. I have to tell you who plays Ambassador Kosh.
The glowing light.
Is he listed here?
It's somebody's lacrosse stick.
You know what's great? I went to check.
It's a coat rack.
It's just a coat rack, and someone mumbles underneath it. I feel bad now. I didn't actually. It's not listed here. I didn't bother to look it up. I thought it would be on list of actors' names.
It's actually Michael Ian Black. Nobody knows that.
Oh, it's but inside the suit is Warwick Davis.
It's true.
Yeah. Actually, the actor who voices Ambassador Kosh is
Also Warwick Davis?
possibly. I actually honestly do not know, so I'm gonna edit that in.
So yeah, and after that weird little thing that whatever, Londo finds out the Centauri aren't going to blow up the Jakar people. What are they called?
The Narn.
The Narn. Not going to blow them up for blowing up their stuff. And Londo is pissed. And so he's going to try to politic up himself a war in the court chambers, I guess. And then Jakar tries to politic Earth into defending them in the war, but didn't work. Earth called and said they don't want a war, but Sinclair wasn't hearing it. It turns out the nephew didn't die. He was just a hostage. And then they found out that it wasn't Narn who blew it up, but it was a Narn who was there making sure that they blew it up.
You went
right.
off the rails here. Let's pull it back. Let's pull it back here, Poncho.
It kind of ended weird.
To clarify the weirdness at the end.
Oh, and then the Centauri tries to assassinate. Melandra tries to assassinate Jakar, and then the Psyker girl, who's there now, figures it out and gets the security to stop it. And then Budget Bruce Willis was like, "Hey, hide your gun."
The paperwork's a pain in the butt.
And of course, although we've mentioned before, Security Chief Michael Garibaldi is played by Jerry Doyle, our bargain basement Bruce Willis. But I love me some Michael Garibaldi. The ending part is a little weirdly convoluted. They kind of throw it all at you at once. You get the video recording of Londo Mollari's nephew on the planet, clearly reading a script saying that they asked for help from Narn, and the Minbari, their own government wasn't going to listen to them. They needed help because they had civil unrest. The Narn came, and now they want to be officially affiliated with the Narn regime. Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, when Sinclair goes out with the Star Furies to hunt down these raiders, they find the command and control base for the raiders, and he comes in after all this is resolved. And the
How lucky they were that 9 fighters took out the entire fleet.
Well, they're not fleet. They're raiders. They have shitty ships, which had more powerful weapons than you would expect. But they're basically.
Didn't they describe the attack as being like never-ending, like hordes of fighters coming at the planet?
No, okay, you definitely got confused. So the fighters coming at the planet was the Narn military. What Sinclair went after were the raiders, which are just regular raiders on crappy little raider ships.
I thought that was like
No, the raiders are just
Why
just
was that
harassing.
there? That was stupid. Then that had nothing to do with the
It's
plot.
a B plot. It was a B plot. You were supposed to just assume it's a B plot. It turns out at the end, however, that they find out that the raiders had been supplied by the Narn, and they used that leverage to make the Narn pull out of Ragesh 3.
Sure.
Because the Narn had played the political game, and they got Londo by the balls or by the tentacles. You'll find out later. And you feel that the Narn are going to win because they got all the political ploys, and just too bad, so sad. Everyone's hands are tied. But then Sinclair serendipitously just comes in and finds a Narn on the Raider ship, and we got one of your boys here. You clearly sold weapons to these raiders, and we're going to tell on you if you don't leave the planet, because it'll be a big bad thing for you.
Pretty dumb.
Yeah. This particular episode, just to bookend, it was written by J. Michael Straczynski, which is the creator of Babylon 5, and the director was Richard Compton, if anybody cares. Originally aired January 26, 1994. A few other things I want to point out. John, from that plot, is there anything that you think we missed?
Sinclair's a captain?
Sinclair is the commander.
Yeah. Commander. His dad said a lot of stupid, obvious things that he went on to quote a whole bunch. Lando has a bunch of weird boob statues in his quarters. And anytime something important happens, it appears that whoever has a decision to make put forth 3 courses of action, and then they choose the best one, when he could have just said, "This is what we're doing."
They present you the fact that they had a choice to make, even though
Yeah.
they didn't need it. They would not have
Sure.
had to say anything. They could have just said,
Yeah.
they monologued the thoughts, the choices they were considering, and then they just
That initial enthusiasm that I had about watching Babylon 5 after the remastered pilot, it's waning a little bit.
Yeah. Season 1 is not great.
I think this episode, definitely you could feel like it's building up for something, but it didn't feel like they gave you a complete episode. It feels like it was part 1 of a 2-parter where they just dramatically ended it. And
Yeah.
It feels like they threw in the fighter B plot so that it wasn't just walking around.
Yes, I would agree. That's almost definitely 100% what they were doing. They were still, in this season, they're still very much constrained with the assumption of episodic.
Because, I got the whole, it was cool seeing, the tension between the Centauri and the
Narn.
The Narn. That was really obvious by how quickly, they went from we're hanging out in the same place, eating spoo, to, I'm ready to kill you. That happened super quick.
Yeah. What did you think of the Londo's dream, his vision of his own death?
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. There's a lot of little cool nuggets.
Yeah.
That they threw in that I kind of forget were thrown in this early in the series.
So, even though they look foolish, I generally kind of like the characters that they're building up in there, and after I get over the initial taken out of it by a weird visual, I can get into the show. I dig what's happening story wise. It just felt a little disjointed and abrupt.
I think season 1 especially is going to feel that way, and this first season of any show is going to be kind of eh.
But those aliens, when they were in their little console thing, it looks like someone sent their production assistant with $250 to Party City, and he's like, "Hey, get us what you can."
Yeah.
I did like the little armadillo guy though.
Yeah, he sticks around for a while. I think he actually is there's an actual species name for that alien. They do sort of refine it a bit, but at this point they have no idea who those guys are. Those are just
It was a collection of bootleg Star Wars toys.
yes.
I do find it funny that they call that convenient council of the League of Non-Aligned Worlds. That just sounds like an oxymoron.
Well, a couple things. I'll go into that. I want to go into the dream thing again because we didn't really explain what that was in case people are wondering. But the League is the rest of the aliens. You've got the main races. You got the council members.
Yeah.
And you got everybody else who wants to show up to the party. They don't really have They don't have the same number of votes.
Those are the guys from Party City?
Those are the guys from Party City. Those are the other alien races that don't really have as much power or influence.
They don't get chairs.
They don't get chairs. They have to sit on benches behind little things, and they have to.
And there's only room for 12.
Yeah, they're in the back of the bus.
They didn't even have enough of them because they threw the attachés and representatives back there too. I don't know if they still get to show up. I don't in the meetings in the future.
I dig that.
As far as the dream, John, do you recall, or Poncho, do you recall what his dream, what Londo Mollari's vision was of his own death?
He was gonna die killing Jakar in 20 years.
In 20 years.
Which he pulled out a gun to shoot the guy then, which violates the dream.
I think it's something. It's a matter of fate.
Is that bullshit where he's like all Centauri can have a dream when they die?
That is not.
Or is that philosophy, superstition?
Well, the show walks that line. It's a sci-fi show, but it's a lot of the trappings are much more fantasy and a lot more spiritual. For Londo, if we talk about him violating that dream, it's a belief he has. It's a religion or it's part of the Centauri that they all say they have these dreams of their deaths, and you don't know if they all just kind of agree, they just make up stories, or they have a dream that seems like it could be it, so they just say, oh yeah, I had mine too. It's not something that it's not a doctrine they adhere to. It's like, oh yeah, thou shalt not XYZ, but fuck it, I'm pissed, I'm still doing it. Fuck, you're not gonna, he's still gonna act in his day-to-day life. He's not gonna stop doing something because he thinks in the future that's supposed to happen.
He acknowledged that when he got stopped.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I guess I'm keeping my appointment.
Yeah. So that's kind of what his rationale was, but that definitely is something to look at in the show. We see that in the next episode too.
It was a cool thing. Again, it just felt like it was an incomplete thing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like.
Oh yeah.
anything got wrapped up or even the next thing got ushered in. It felt like it just ended.
Yeah, it's kind of them trying to do that long form storytelling, but instead of they're just gonna come back to that later, maybe.
I would have been pissed off if I was watching this and had to wait a week for the next thing.
The season 1, I think maybe at the time we would have been frustrated because you're not sure what they're doing. It just seems like an incomplete episode because you don't know that they're going to come back to this conflict. They do. Like all of these things they're mentioning are pertinent and are important to the story. I think we touched on all the important things there. One thing we kind of glossed over was the election that was going on. Luis Santiago versus Marie Crane. Luis Santiago and his no chins with his multiple chin running mate. That's another little C plot, I suppose, that does get brought up. The political climate of Earth is something that's kind of referenced here and there. It becomes more and more important. All political climates of all the races become pretty important during the course of the series. But I just wanted to make sure that we brought up that was there. Also, did anybody else notice when you're going into the alien sector? There's one alien sector, and then there's the little window with the gas masks. Mm-hmm. There's 3 different colors, and I would assume they're 3 different forms of atmosphere. But if you're in a rush, was it pretty easy to grab like the wrong one and stick that on your face?
Yeah, probably.
I guess you would know quickly that you're inhaling poison, but
yeah.
Just saying.
I was finding other weird like real world analogies. Like so, Santiago 1 and one of the tenets of his platform was preserving Earth culture in this world of rising alien population.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of peculiar. As far as like other stuff, I enjoyed Gargash. What was the name of the planet?
Oh, Ragesh 3.
Ragesh 3. There was an Israel-Palestine metaphor in there, analogy in there, seeing as how it used to be a Narn world that was captured by the Centauri in war 100 years ago, and now all the people that live there apparently are now Centauri, and the Narn want it back, and the council, the Security Council is like, yeah, but I mean they got it now. It's been a long time. I acknowledge you guys had it a long time ago, but you need to get over it. You're not going home. You
noticed that, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I think you even noticed that in the pilot a little bit. I don't know if we mentioned it in detail, but I remember you offhandedly kind of bringing that up to me. I'm maybe not on camera, but that is, I would say that there's clear parallels between those two races.
The other bit of like 1994 politics that I recognized in there was the remark that Santiago made about Earth can't be the galaxy's policeman.
Mm-hmm.
And like 94 was in and around like Kosovo and all that other stuff. We were in Haiti, and we were talking about like that's when like America World's Policeman was starting to actually really get debated and stuff like that. But that was pretty cool.
It's also where they brought up the cycle of hatred, which would be a bitchin' band name.
They did also bring up the telepath slightly. We had a little subplot with our resident telepath trying to get a conversation in with Commander Ivanova. And we did get a little sit down. She ruined Ivanova's.
She ruined the night.
The only downtime this woman gets. She works her ass off.
She wants to have a drink and watch the television, and this psycho girl can't tell.
Yeah.
Can't read the body language. She couldn't tell.
Like, I'm not allowed to read your mind, so I can't tell what you're thinking or feeling at all. There's no other way to do it. I mean, maybe that's on purpose. But you do get a little bit of insight about the Psy-Corps. It's kind of the fact that if you're born psychic, you are effectively a criminal unless you follow these very specific rules.
It sounded pretty dark.
It's pretty dark. And it's something that's kind of hand-wavy because everyone's like, that's the way it is. And it's an interesting subplot because it is very dark. And
it's easier to subjugate this minority than, put them in with everybody else and deal with that.
I was in subsequent viewings noticing that I found very interesting because it's deliberate at how no one really pays attention. It's just the way it is. So everyone just accepts that we have this basic slave caste on Earth. And it's like, they don't really put a lot of focus on it early on.
And when they were talking about like the drugs they gave her mom, because the number 2's mom was a psychic, and then like you get 3 options. Again, you can either work for the government, go to prison, or take these drugs that inhibit your psychicness, which sounds great, right? You just basically kind of chemically castrate yourself and everything's nice. except it just gives you dementia and Alzheimer's, and then you die. You kill yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good joke.
Yeah. Hey, if you aren't gonna work for us, we can't lock you up and make sure you can't do anything. We're just gonna turn your brain off through chemicals. Did you say like a man in a suit came once a week?
And administered a shot, make sure that she took them. You didn't get pills that there's no...
Yeah, well, they had to make sure that you were taking them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if she gave him lemonade. Or borscht, because they're
Borscht.
They're Russian.
They are Russian. They're Russian Jews.
Okay.
That's the thing. So that was episode 1, Midnight on the Firing Line. Looking at this episode, kind of... special effects. We didn't touch on the special effects. I guess we can.
It's really bad.
It's pretty bad.
They aren't so it is my theory. Not having seen the originals, it's my theory. Like the fighter deployment and the revealing of the guns for the whatever what do they call it when they ready the guns on the station?
Like point defense system.
Point defense system, all that stuff.
It's not that. It's called something else.
Like those two
Defense grid.
Thank you. Those two sequences are probably reused and reused and reused and reused. So I think they might have tried to re-up or improve the visuals when they put it on DVD or when they did or whatever, just a little bit, but only for like the things that you keep seeing.
That is incorrect. That's not what
Really?
they did. I think what actually happened is they just spent more time on those visuals because they were going to be reused over and over. So,
But if this were a modern TV show, they would just have used a lot less of it. Like, it's bad. They had the limitations of it. A modern show knows their limitations, and they just try to minimize the amount of that stuff that they use. Mm-hmm. Like, some of the things really take me out of it, particularly that stupid-looking alien whenever he was in the background.
Kosh. Let's get into this.
Oh, man.
I don't think Kosh looks as bad as you say he does.
John hates Kosh. John hates the way Ambassador Kosh looks.
It just looks like stuff leaning against the wall.
Well, no, it did in that one scene, specifically because that's what it was. He had taken his suit off, put it on the hat rack, and was taking a shower, but he's made of light. So why he needs a shower?
He was taking a shower in the middle of the console.
Well, he's an alien. No, I know what you're. That's
Okay.
that scene when it's literally the inanimate suit just laying there.
It looked very silly, and then when I found out that it was literally just sitting there, then that was different.
It's just stuff in the background. Like, it would be the same thing as if there was a broom laying against here.
Well, let me counter that. I will acknowledge the fact that maybe it doesn't look great. I love Kosh. I think Kosh looks awesome. I think his costume looks great. I'm a huge fan. I think a lot of people are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you could be right about this episode, or maybe even early on, because he is just there. He's just standing there, not doing anything. And they do a lot of long, like wide shots of him in the scene. I think probably later on in this, and certainly later on in the series, they do a lot better job of doing tight shots and giving more of his reactions and his movements, because he's supposed the way they create him with that suit, he's supposed to look like he's floating. I think that's less of a problem with the costume.
I never got that.
No.
I never got the floatiness.
I know. I think it's less a problem with the costume and more a problem with how they're shooting it and the direction and figuring out how best to use it. Because I recall really enjoying the way that Kosh
and then
looks on
the
screen.
computer graphics also really, like, I would have been infinitely happier with this if it would have been crappy looking miniatures, like the old style stuff. Like, for whatever reason, the super bright cartoony things completely takes me out of whatever storyline is happening, and then I have to refocus into.
It's early CG, and that's 100% fair.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I brought this up before. It doesn't bother me at all, but it's glaring.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot, and I think that's
like every scene starts with it.
There's a lot of CG, and it gets better. I do think that they improved it over the years. Looking at the station in this episode, maybe it was just a bad transfer of season 1, which is a terrible transfer they pulled off the cutting room floor.
That's pretty bad.
That is probably old CG that's never been retouched, and they probably improved it over the years, because that looked way worse than that pilot B5 station, the lighting and everything.
It also seemed in the pilot they didn't use it as much. Like, it seemed like in the pilot they could just cut from scene to scene.
Pilot was definitely, you didn't have a lot. You have no Star Furies in the pilot. You had none of that. But I enjoy watching Babylon 5. But let me just warn you guys: season 1, mostly a season 1 of something. It's a season 1. It's season 1 Next Generation with a little bit more ambition without the technology to back it up. Yeah. But let's move on.
And lights and good night.
Commander, there's a problem. Commander?
So John, we watched 2 episodes today. We got introduced to some new characters in episode 1. Episode 2 was for introducing one new character and putting the highlight on another existing character we didn't see much of in episode 1. And that's the episode Soul Hunter. So John, what happened in Soul Hunter?
So the year is 2258.
It's still 2258, yes.
The name is Babylon 5.
It is.
It's the last best hope for peace.
It is.
All the aliens spinning steel.
That is a very precise number that they give. 2,005,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't wait it.
So that the episode is entitled Soul Hunter.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, there's a soul hunter.
What does a soul hunter do?
It hunts souls.
It doesn't really though.
Yeah, pretty much. It starts off with a derelict vessel jumping out of whatever the hell that thing was.
Oh, let's go into that a little bit because that really hasn't been explained. It's just been mentioned.
Yeah.
Those are the jump gates.
Okay.
So we've really only seen the station and things coming through those gates. So the way that faster than light travel works in Babylon 5 in that universe is there is regular space and there is hyperspace. There's like a subspace that exists. So when you have to have enough energy and power to puncture a hole into this hyperspace, and once you're there, when you travel a set distance, you're traveling much further in hyperspace in a shorter amount of time, and then you come back out into real space, and it may have taken a day or so to travel thousands of light years, or maybe not thousands, but many light years. But most people need to use gates, like these powered, big, massive structures floating in space, which create these gates. And you use those to enter, and you have to get to another beacon, and you use another gate to get out. So Babylon 5 being hub is going to have its own gate. So when you're traveling from somewhere, you jump from gate to gate to gate, you come out. So that's what that is.
All right. So Soul Hunter hunts souls. Overall, that's the plot of this story of this episode. That was a pretty stupid plot, but like there were some cool things there. First, it introduced the Soul Hunters, which is kind of cool. With their order, once a good Soul Hunter comes on board and explains to them how they're supposed to work.
It's not just like a one-off character. They give you a little bit of sense.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That they're more supposed to be like collectors as opposed to hunters. And what's the chick? What race is she?
Delenn. She is Mambari.
Cool. Yeah. And it went to show how important she was to the Mambari. Like she's just not a schmuck ambassador. She's an important thing.
Yeah, she's a super important thing. This is getting to the end when you find out that she's Satai, which is an honorific given to their leaders, the Grey Council. Yeah. So she's not just a kind of important leader. She's like one of the presidents. If we had multiple presidents doing an ambassador work, which is weird. And nobody knows. That's not a thing that people know. They just tell us. This is the first time Sinclair realizes there's something shady going on with Delenn.
Cool. So that's what I get that's important from there. Other than that, like they introduced a super handsome new doctor. Like
he's super handsome.
He's really good looking, well dressed. His hair was super tight. Like that dude was on point.
Dr. Stephen Franklin, played by Richard Briggs.
Russians are not optimists.
No, they are not.
Yeah, that was also brought in here.
First time I've ever heard that about Russians.
Yeah. Super dumb looking mantis dude.
No, he was not super dumb looking. In fact, he's a sweet bug man.
McGrath, the big crime boss.
Is he like a thing?
No.
Oh, that's too bad. I would have liked to see more Sweet Bug Man.
As a younger teenage individual, I was very much a fan of Sweet Bug Man.
Yeah.
But in a few years,
Zorak.
I don't get a lot of that. In a few years, though, Farscape comes out, so I just get a bunch of Bugmen.
Well, for whatever reason, I don't know who told that guy at the Pasadena Acting Community Theater that he needed to rotate as much as he did, but he was rotating a lot. Looked like he was doing the dance.
He was trying not to look like he was a broom on a wall.
There's a sweet scene where like they put a hat on an alien.
Oh my god, the alien with a hat.
I missed it.
This is the joys of watching the show over again. Because usually, especially with other people and with the intent of talking, breaking it down a bit, because normally if I rewatch these shows, I put it on, I'm doing something else, I'm just kind of enjoying it, I'm not paying attention. That's the first time I've seen that goofy-ass alien wearing that goofy-ass...
How could you miss that?
I don't know.
That's basically if you're in the middle of Target and running behind you comes a life-size Mr. Potato Head wearing a beret. Like, how do you miss that?
I missed it.
I was so riveted by the plot.
I was too.
What else did I that was kind of cool from here? That's kind of it. I think what interested me here was like how do they choose who gets to live on this planet? Because like it looked like there's hobos and grifters hanging out there.
Right, that didn't get brought up. I said I'd answer that, or I'd give you some insight. It does get answered. They bring it up later in the series.
In every capitalist system, there are going to be the dregs.
Yes, that's what the answer is.
Sure, but like if you have a space station that has like all of it mapped out on there, like you should be able to flush out the hobos.
Yeah, well, they don't bother flushing them out. They just let them live there in squalor. So basically, Brat's brown sector, and brown sector is like
the color of poop.
The color of poop. It is basically the poop sector. It's not even meant for human habitation. It's just like for maintenance work, and it's storage or whatever it was. But the people that came here to Babylon 5 like, ooh, Babylon 5, new life, awesome. I'm going to do great. Put all my money in this. I'm going to go live on the space station and see a bunch of aliens and open a store or whatever. And no, they move there, like moving to California, and they lose all their money. They can't afford passage back home. So they just are homeless, and they live wherever they can on the station. They just get kept down on that.
Like it seems like, so that works in California because like in between all of the buildings, like there's just too much stuff for you to police. But like, on a space station, it seems like you just round up all the hobos and stick them on a bus and send them someplace else. Not in my backyard.
They don't have. Where are they gonna send them? In
Wherever.
The sun?
Throw them in the gate. Let them land someplace else.
Yeah, they're technically citizens of whatever planet they're from.
Then that's where they're going.
Yeah, they just have hobos. They just let people kind of live down there.
So that's kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird thing to have. Like, hey, we have this cool space station plus 3-card Monty and hobos.
Well, that's the idea, and I think it's still, again, trying to form a parallel with our modern society.
Like, I can't picture NASA signing off on like 3-card Monty and hobos.
No, they didn't sign off on anything. It's just there. Like they didn't plan for that section to be for hobos. That's just where all the hobos went. And they're like, oh, now there's a whole bunch of hobos there. It's like, what do we do? Put them on a ship and send them where?
Yeah.
Back to Earth? Earth doesn't want them. We don't want to pay for their passage, and nobody cares. There's a lot of it's interesting. There's a lot of callous sort of.
That's what we do here. Yeah. We stick our homeless on a bus and send them to Daytona.
Yes, we do send them to Daytona. Daytona's too far away for Babylon 5. It'll be all the way back to Earth.
Your space Daytona.
There's no space Daytona. That is Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is space Daytona.
Yes.
So the Soul Hunter is actually, I wanted to look this up. I did after that we watched the show, but the actor who played the Soul Hunter was W. Morgan Shepherd. I had to look him up. I did want to bring up that Soul Hunters are completely irrelevant for the rest of the 5-year arc of Babylon 5.
Oh, that sucks because it's a cool thing to exist in there.
Yeah, they are neat. And they realized they were neat. Straczynski wrote this episode, so he did during season 5 do a movie that was really tied directly with the Soul Hunters. They do come back. They get their own kind of Soul Hunter story arc.
Okay, do they explain? So it's an order of Soul Hunters, correct?
Right, it's a species.
It's a species.
Species in an order. I guess they're one and the same. Maybe there are Soul Hunters.
So the entire species has the singular goal of collecting cool people's souls?
They are alluded to be timeless, so they don't age and die in the same way.
Do they breed? There's only guys.
Well, they may not breed.
They definitely age, because one of them was an old fuck, and the other one was a youngster.
Maybe he just looks old because he's stressed.
No, he was old. His mud flaps were tattered. He had beat up burlap sacks.
Maybe that's how he likes to look. He doesn't watch.
He was haggard.
He was just haggard. They they collect souls of the individuals who are dying. They take whatever they consider the soul, and they put it in a little soul ball.
They look like delicious Cherry Clan candies.
Mm-hmm. And they glow and they float. For some reason, they want the souls to float around, or maybe souls by themselves just float in whatever container you put them in. There is an argument. There's some philosophical, theistic kind of arguments about whether or not souls are even real. That makes any sense.
They showed them.
They clearly were
Yeah,
well,
they're 100% like you can't argue with the timeline of Babylon 5 anymore because there was the red cherry clan candies and you smashed them and the blue soul came out.
The question is, is that a soul? Or is that, do they make a physical energy copy of your personality?
That was the thing. They didn't explain how the soul sucker machine worked.
And they still, like, did they keep it on the station? Did they confiscate the soul sucker machine?
I mean, perhaps the young soul sucker took the soul sucker. He has 2 soul suckers now. He's got double the production.
It's in the storage room.
Yeah. It's in the same brown sector. There's just hobos sucking souls.
for kicks.
Or a Zorak took it. He's gonna sell or something.
McGrath.
Like,
it's not Zorak. I guess we could say it's Zorak.
Yeah, they don't particularly explain how it works. Like the doctor's like, no, I don't believe in souls. I suppose you can copy somebody and make a clone, and then Sinclair watches these souls float, and I guess that's supposed to imply that these actually are souls and stuff. But
There's something in there.
Afterwards, he's like, I'm not gonna say shit. I have the answer to your question, science man, but I ain't talking.
You just caught on to a singular personality trait of Jeffrey Sinclair. He does not answer questions.
He's a fucking knowledge elitist.
He does not answer questions.
He doesn't want to further science of his
Nope.
species.
He prefers that you just keep asking questions. He doesn't like to give you answers. That's a thing.
What a dick.
That's a thing.
I really wish this series was redone like with a modern twist because like so far the story is really cool, but like if it was done with like modern prosthetics, like it wouldn't look like Zoltar from Big.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree completely. I would love to. This is at the point now. This is the time where something like Babylon 5, I think, really should be remade, and perhaps do it the way we do this long form storytelling nowadays. We truncate these seasons down to 10 to 13 episodes. Tell a story.
Even if it was like an episode by episode remake, like just with what we've learned in the last.
Yeah, it would certainly be better.
25
I don't think we would ever get that. I think more than likely we would get something like an HBO type series broken down, which I would be fine with. I think that you can trim a lot of fat off Babylon 5.
But so far, it definitely seemed like a story worth being told.
There's a few things that we didn't bring up, maybe because they didn't really register to you guys as being important to the story. You did bring up that Delenn is a Satai, that she's a leader or something special about her, that she's keeping that a secret. She won't tell Sinclair about it. There's the other thing that brought up is that she has a quote to Sinclair when she's kind of out of it that alludes to them knowing more about what's going on. And though it's not brought up really in this episode, it was brought up in the pilot where he has this period of lost time where he was going to ram one of these Minbari ships during the Battle of the Line, trying to defend Earth. All of his wing were destroyed. Every friend he ever had in the military is dead. He's going to kill himself crashing in the ship. Maybe he can take him out. Then there's a light, and he blacks out. And then when he wakes up, the war's over, and the Minbari surrendered. So there's a lot of that kind of.
I don't think I actually heard what that statement was like. I know that the statement was said. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I was able to.
It was something along the lines of I knew we picked the right one, or
specifically
like
is we were right about you.
There you go.
Yeah. And then the Soul Hunter brings up a phrase as well to Sinclair, and he says, "They're using you," and then Sinclair turns a Soul Hunter machine on his crotch or belly.
He soul sucked the soul sucker.
The soul sucker because fuck him, he was being a dick. No need to arrest him.
It really seems like you could have just turned the soul sucking machine into a neutral, and you had like your perp.
Yeah,
I would think so. I mean, Sinclair was clearly armed, right?
He had a gun.
So
he's in better shape. The old dude's an old dude. He doesn't really have any place to run.
Also, why did Sinclair jump out in the Star Fury like Captain Kirk instead of when that ship at the very beginning when the Soul Hunter ship was going to crash?
Because he's Anakin Skywalker and he's the best pilot in the galaxy.
He is the best pilot in the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean because he's 90s Kirk, and Kirk has to do the things. Yeah. Right.
I appreciate
the way
that they handled the thing too is to send a fighter out with an arm. Yeah, that's where the tech.
It's got a
seems
reachy
appropriate.
grabbing.
Yes, it seems appropriate.
Yeah, it is.
How close did that thing get to the station?
Seemed like 10 feet away.
Well, like because they were counting off in seconds, like 10 seconds away, 5 seconds away, and he's like, "Don't worry, my Reachy Grabby will stop it." Like, even the second in command is like, I thought this was like an imminent threat. I guess I read the manual wrong, Captain.
Yo, that's the introduction, the first real introduction to snarky Ivanova. She's full of snark.
Well, she's Russian.
Yeah, they're full of snark. She gets some of the, in my opinion, some of the snarkiest, silliest, and best lines.
So
like one-liners.
Another thing that I caught here too. All right, so everyone on the bridge answers things in like spaceship terms, and then there's this one thing where they act like they ask a blonde chick how long something's gonna take. She's like, "Give me a couple seconds."
Give me a minute. I'll figure it out. Well, I'm not sure if that's more accurate to how things are on a ship or less accurate, but it's a good point.
There were some weird things I noticed. So the second Soul Hunter man came, and he was able to track the first Soul Hunter by sensing where the death was going to happen, because he was going to suck out the Delen's soul. And the second Soul Hunter guy was able to sense, but he was able to do it over the map. Like, if you can sense, like, you just look at a map, it's like, oh yeah, it's in C deck here. It's not like it's there about 3 decks down and probably 5. Like, what wouldn't that be? How that happens?
I would think that's probably correct. I would counter that by saying that it was clearly a directorial decision or a writing decision of like, we need to be able to show the audience that we know where they are and have it clear to register that. I would agree that doesn't make any sense that that's how his ability would work.
But like, I don't even think that didn't even like, I'm ready to look at stupid things, and like, I can write that off as like, what he did was what you just said about this happened here, and like, for the benefit of the people who can't see what he's seeing, he just pointed out that's the spot.
It's probably there. I know what the station looks like. It's going to be right around this area. Yeah. And somehow they knew exactly where that area was, even though his finger was.
Well, there's only one important thing in that area.
Yeah, there's only one place that has the proper wattage for the plugs.
It's the only place with a grounded plug.
Yeah, for the soul sucking machine. And I appreciate the practical effects on that
with the rope light.
With the rope lights,
you can see where they shoved the rest of the rope light in.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? But I mean, I always appreciate practical effects, and B5 is full of CG. It's full of CG because it doesn't, and it helps in certain ways. It does age it. It lets them do some kind of crazy, amazing shots here and there that look silly nowadays, but there's no other way for them to try to do that.
I appreciate that very little of the interior is CG.
Oh yeah, like almost elevator outside elevator is CG. All the transports you see, some of the big wide angle shots are CG of like trying to
it's weird because like, I can't think of any reason why you would need to show the outside of like the elevator.
Probably because the elevator set is just like the same wall backdrop with some lights. Like, there's no real good elevator set. So I think they just need to say they're in an elevator. This is not just a cardboard cutout behind them and they're standing by some lights. Also, you made a point about Lando's assistant.
He looks like budget Jason Alexander.
Veer Koto is Stephen First, who you would probably mostly know from Animal House as the titular like newbie guy being brought in, the goofy fat kid from Animal House coming in.
I was born in '88.
You've not seen Animal House?
I've not seen Animal House.
Really? That's almost more.
Why are
we
even friends with you?
Yeah, that's almost more important than watching Shawshank Redemption.
I think I'm too old to enjoy Animal House.
Absolutely not.
The last weird freaking thing that hit me. So again, I'm really struggling that Babylon 5 takes place 10 years after this war between humanity and the
Minbari,
the Delen people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's been 10 years. They're on the space station. The commander of the space station was about to suicide himself after a bunch of his friends got killed, but he and Delenn are best buds.
Yeah.
Super weird, dude. He is super nice to, like, did humanity war with any of those other alien races?
No.
He's a dick to everybody else. Her best friend.
Likes her. They're cool.
But
they're like bros.
Even the other Minbari that show up, he's like, hey, what's up? What's going on, Minbari people?
I think I have seen that trope happen a lot between when they show a fatigued fighter who has respect for his enemy.
Yeah.
But it's usually overtly brought up. It's like, man, I killed a lot of your people, but you know what? You're all right. You killed a lot of mine. I think we're even.
I think they kind of addressed that when they were in the garden hanging out during the pilot.
During the pilot, they have a conversation about it. That kind of gives you a little bit more insight. And then also when he's talking about in this episode, that he does it by having the conversation about his father when he's talking to Ivanova, giving this is what my dad said, and this is how I know that the Minbari are honorable people. So he has this level of respect about what they're doing. The Minbari, if he understands the conflict that occurred, and he understands also that there's something more to the Minbari than just these enemies, because they don't talk about it in this first episode, but they did in the pilot, where they were gonna lose the war. All humanity thinks, oh, the line, it was because of the line. All these soldiers put their lives on the line. The Minbari are like, we can't deal with this. This is too much. We're gonna give up. That's not the case. They were getting slaughtered, and the Minbari just quit. They just surrendered for no tactical reason whatsoever. So he's like, what the hell? I don't know. And I think that put him off guard. He knows that there's something else going on.
I would expect that a tactic such as that would create a deep suspicion, if not in the character of Sinclair, but in humanity in general, to the point of that. It's still so fresh. Only a decade later, it's still so fresh in the minds of the average human that there would be more persecution.
From what I get from that, like, this wasn't just a war. This wasn't like World War II. This was like potentially cataclysmic war. Like
it was supposed to be like almost extinction level.
Correct. So I think once you get to that point, you're like, hey, maybe we need to stop fighting.
Yeah, there's certainly resentment against Minbari, and kind of this feeling that they almost wiped us out. But most of the people who actually had to fight them are dead.
Yeah.
So the rest of the people were like, but we kicked their asses. So they have the mentality of, oh, we're heroes, because they may have lost loved ones.
But we didn't kick their asses.
But they think we did. They think that they did. Like, humanity in general feels that they won that war, and like that's the general consensus of the average everyday citizen. And the other thing is, the Minbari are fucking batshit, stupid, crazy, powerful.
What's the matter with you?
So we're 2 episodes in.
Mm-hmm.
Last episode, when the dude with the weird hair threw the guy's poo on the floor.
Londo.
Yeah.
Like, it showed how tight tensions are, and those two characters, the captain, commander, and the weird alien chick,
Glenn,
have already been picked out as being exceptional characters. So, like, it seems like it's foreshadowing why they have this crazy relationship.
You have some insight, John. Yeah. There is a reason why they have this crazy relationship. There's a reason why Sinclair is so weirdly calm and able to accept this. There is actually all of that there's an actual reason to make him exception. Now, as far as why humanity as a whole doesn't seem to just be like, we're just going to be isolationists or screw the Minbari, I think the parallel they're trying to draw here, possibly I could be reaching, is like the U.S. and Japan, perhaps a little bit accelerated, but you have this. You have a situation where you have an attack, and you have like this suddenly everyone is we hate these damn boneheads, we hate these damn, Japanese people with a negative pejorative attached, because I'm not going to say anything, but and then you build up kind of a culture of unity and trade, and you have this sort of handshake. And I think that happens a lot. Historically, that happens quite a bit between enemies. Usually it takes a little bit of time.
It takes far longer than the 3 years.
But
yeah, but not, maybe a few decades in our history.
Yeah.
But if we accelerate, we change the parameters, and you're in space, and you have to deal with the damn Minbari in order to get a foothold into space.
We haven't experienced a near cataclysmic war yet. Like, we haven't been
Right.
We haven't been like people almost gone. So I think that would be different. Also, in this show, they haven't really shown a lot of the typical human stuff. They showed Grifter, who got stabbed by another Grifter. So humans are still super violent, but they weren't talking politics. They showed Super Handsome Doctor, who's a super handsome doctor, still not talking politics. And Head of Security dude is pretty dumpy. Like, he's not a nice dude.
He's mostly interested in eating food, getting laid, and watching Daffy Duck.
Yeah. Second in command, not super good. Psychics also seem like they're doing a job. So we haven't actually experienced humanity.
That's true.
Other than exceptional characters.
I agree, but when you talk about characters like the new number 2 and Budget Bruce Willis, like I would have expected like a brief exchange, because there was an exchange in the first episode.
There was
about of Londo talking to Budget Bruce Willis about trying to explain away how all these aliens look so humanoid.
Well, yeah, the very beginning where
at the very beginning,
where
which,
he's saying
which I thought was kind of cute, being somebody who likes alien stuff and is always wondering, well, why is everybody so humanish?
that was specifically just the Centauri.
But I would have expected the same a similar length of discussion between Sinclair and God, what's his name? What's the Italian guy's name? Budget Bruce Willis. What's his name?
Garibaldi.
Garibaldi. Yeah. I would expect that Garibaldi would be like, man, it's only been a couple years. Come to think, it's only been a couple years since we were at each other's throats. They were about to kill us. Yeah, but we really need to tie each other together because we're trying to tie the galaxy together.
2 episodes in.
Yeah, we're 2 episodes in. First episode, we still had the conversation, maybe not to your satisfaction, but that conversation between Ivanova and Sinclair was that conversation. Yeah. She's like, freaking Minbari, why do you trust Surprise? She's restraining herself. Like, you could tell that she's getting bristly.
Oh,
why are you so quick to defend the Minbari? You fought them, you know, and you find out more about Ivanova. Like, I believe her brother dies in the war, so she's definitely got an axe to grind. But these are mostly, you're seeing military people who are, like John's right, they're exceptional people on these front lines. These are not your average Joe kind of gung-ho, go Earth. Those people exist, and there is that sort of focus gets brought there as well later on.
It seems like they're preparing like the history-making characters. Like these are the characters that in that universe you would be reading about in textbooks at some point.
That's a fair analogy. That would be.
I mean, it makes sense. I wanted more physical conflict.
We also got the introduction of Talia Winters, our new psychic. She's really good at her job of randomly running into people and accidentally reading their thoughts and not being able to read body language or in any other way interrogate or
that's kind of cool that like she's oblivious to.
If that's purposeful, I'm not sure if it is. It's the first time anyone's brought that up. I'm not a huge fan of her character.
Maybe she just had to be really obtuse so we could learn that Villanova's mom got.
That's why.
That's a trope that I don't like in sci-fi. The psychics.
I'm not a fan of psychics either.
You like the psychics?
It's just like a plot moving MacGuffin.
Yeah, I don't like them either. I do like psychics in B5 in the sense that I think that there are very cool stories that are eventually told involving the psychics. And then I really don't like the psychics. If we get that far, you'll find out. But yeah, I have mixed feelings. It's the show that made me think psychics are interesting and cool, and then it's also that show that made me realize, oh no, they're super dumb.
It's hard for me to like take them in as like a legit thing, because like if there were legit psychics, like you would hear about people using legit psychics. Like Napoleon would have like legit psychics that maybe they weren't as good, but like they were legit psychics. Like my background is like in 1994? 1994, Miss Cleo was a thing, and then in 2258, like no, they were legit.
Yeah, they talk about how they. I don't know if they ever.
Do they talk about Miss Cleo?
Yeah, Miss Cleo was the first official psychic. She found it. No, they don't.
Call me now.
They don't. They don't do that. That would be great.
Many good things when you call for a free reading.
Tired of being ripped off? The Absolutely Psychic Network has only the best psychics available 24/7 on the phone, internet chat, and email. Real psychics, real answers, only on the Absolutely Psychic Network.
You yank out all the Soul Hunter nonsense and like the stuff with like the main characters for the story. It seemed like a pretty cool episode.
Yeah, you're gonna get some more fantastical story stuff happening. Like I said, Babylon 5 I think is much more. It's got a lot of really hard science fiction stuff in it, but the story is much more Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we get some hobbits, some wizards.
We get hobbits and wizards.
Yeah,
And
How the hell do you get a giant eagle in the space station?
we get some King Arthur and some Excalibur and some Merlins.
Talking trees?
Mm-hmm. All that stuff.
Love me some talking trees.
I am Groot.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching Babylon 5 again with me. Amazingly enough, 2 episodes. This is season 1's rough. We'll figure out how we approach it. But we had some fun. I enjoyed talking about it.
I'm just making social capital so that you have to do what I want to do later.
I'm already doing what you're doing. I'm playing very silly Japanese fighting bug games with you.
Check it out.
We're never going to finish editing that.
No, I am. Check it out.
John, anything else you want to plug?
Not at the moment. Let's get Bentley on camera because he's cute.
Hey, Bentley.
Come here, Muffin.
Don't call him Muffin. Yay, Bentley.
Look at that guy.
Bentley should have been on Babylon 5.
You don't need to face the camera. Oh, there we go. Do you have any kind words to say?